Let me tell you a secret about the clever man, the one who has read all the books, who can dismantle any argument, who builds his personality like a fortress of verified facts and devastating witticisms. Come closer. In the humid quiet of this room, where the night presses against the glass like a velvet shroud, let's speak the truth. His brilliance is a disease. You've met him. Perhaps you are him. He enters a room not with a body, but with a resume of his own mind. He doesn't have conversations. He stages symposia. Each sentence is polished, each reference triple-checked. He lays out his thoughts like a surgeon lays out his scalpels, gleaming, sterile, and terrifyingly precise. He believes this is his strength, his mating call. He performs his intelligence like a peacock fanning its tail, a shimmering, iridescent display of nothing. It is a spectacle of surfaces, a desperate, beautiful, and profoundly stupid advertisement for an empty throne. He thinks women are drawn to the light of his intellect, but they are not moths. They are creatures of warmth, of shadow, of intuition, and his light is a cold one. It's the fluorescent hum of a laboratory, not the flickering, living flame of a hearth. When she is near him, she feels it, the constant, unnerving pressure of being evaluated. Can she keep up? Is her opinion clever enough? Does her laughter have the correct timbre of ironic detachment? It is exhausting. Being with him is like a final exam for a course you never signed up for. I knew a man like this once, an academic. He could quote Schopenhauer on the misery of existence while pouring you a wine he'd describe with the vocabulary of a botanist. He spoke of love as a socio-biological imperative wrapped in a cultural construct of romantic idealism. He was fascinating for precisely 15 minutes. After that, you began to see the wires. You saw the frantic, terrified little man behind the curtain, frantically pulling levers, terrified of a single moment of authentic, uncurated silence. He wasn't sharing his soul, he was presenting his doctoral thesis on it. Women would drift into his orbit, mesmerized by the vocabulary, and then, just as quietly, drift away. They didn't want a lecturer. They wanted a man. The great lie the clever man tells himself is that the world, and especially the women in it, are a problem to be solved, a lock to be picked. He gathers data, analyzes patterns, develops theories. He reads seduction manuals written by other clever, lonely men. He learns the correct way to touch, the optimal time to call, the most effective sequence of compliments. He becomes a technician of intimacy, which is like being a mortician of life. He masters the anatomy of the corpse but has no idea how to make it breathe. This is the hidden stupidity Foucault would have recognized instantly. Not the stupidity of ignorance, but the stupidity of a system of knowledge that has become its own prison. Power, Foucault whispered, isn't just a king on a throne. It's the network of rules you accept without question. The clever man's prison is a panopticon of his own making. He is both the guard and the inmate, constantly watching himself, judging himself, ensuring he never deviates from the script of the intelligent man. He is paralyzed by his own omniscience. There's an old whispered story from the Black Forest of a creature they called the Wissensgeist, the knowledge ghost. It was said to be the spirit of a scholar who, in his arrogance, sought to learn the name of every leaf, every stone, every creature in the forest, believing that to name a thing was to own it. He succeeded. He knew the forest down to its last atom, and in doing so, he lost it. He could no longer feel the moss, smell the rain, or hear the wordless song of the trees. He only heard the cacophony of his own labels. He became a ghost haunting his own library of facts, starving for a single, stupid, unnameable feeling. The modern clever man is the Wissensgeist. He has traded wisdom for information. He has swapped the chaotic, terrifying, and beautiful wilderness of human connection for a perfectly manicured, perfectly dead garden of his own design. He doesn't understand that true power, the kind that attracts, the kind that creates life, lies not in what you know, but in what you are willing to not know. It lies in the courage to be present in a moment of uncertainty, to be unfinished. His stupidity is his belief that a map is the same as the territory. He offers her a flawlessly drawn map of a river, full of intricate details about currents and depths, and cannot understand why she would rather swim in the real, muddy, unpredictable water with the man who just shrugs and says, "It's wet." So I ask you, you, the architect of your own beautiful, suffocating cage of cleverness, what is the one raw, simple, unanalyzed truth you've been polishing into a pretty lie? The one feeling so pure and stupid you've buried it under a mountain of books? Dare to look at it, just for a second. His silence is not empty. It is a vacuum that pulls her truth into the open. Ah, silence, the great terror of the modern man. A void he must immediately fill with noise, with opinions, with the frantic tapping of his own importance. The clever man from our last confession, he fears silence more than death. In it, he might hear the hollow echo of his own soul. But there is another man, a rarer creature, the man who has made peace with the void, the man whose stupidity is a kind of radical stillness. He does not offer you his wit. He offers you his quiet. He sits with you, perhaps across a worn wooden table in a cafe where the only sounds are the hiss of the espresso machine and the distant murmur of the city, and he simply listens. Not the performative listening of the salesman, nodding and waiting for his turn to speak. No, this is a deep, gravitational listening, a silence so profound it becomes an active force. When you are in the presence of this silence, something strange happens. You become the performer. The silence is a mirror, vast and merciless, and in it, you see your own reflection with horrifying clarity. You hear the slight tremor in your own voice, the nervous little lies you tell, the carefully constructed anecdotes you use to paper over your insecurities. You find yourself talking, confessing, unfurling the scrolls of your own history, not because he is prying, but because the emptiness demands to be filled, and you are the only one available to fill it. He is not stupid, he is patient. He understands a power that Foucault knew in the architecture of confessionals. The priest doesn't need to scream and torture. He just needs to create a sacred silent space, and the sinner will gladly do the work for him, flagellating himself with his own tongue. This man's silence is a secular confessional. In it, women, people, will tell him everything. They will lay the keys to their kingdoms at his feet, mistaking his stillness for wisdom, his quiet for understanding. There is a legend in the desolate steppes of the East about a man they called the listener. He wasn't a king or a shaman. He was just a man who sat by a river and said nothing. Pilgrims would travel for weeks to seek his counsel. They would arrive, exhausted and full of desperate questions, and they would sit before him. And in his profound, unnerving silence, they would begin to speak. They would ask their question, and then, in the echoing quiet, they would answer it themselves. They would state their problem and then map its solution. They would weep and rage and laugh, and the listener would simply sit, his presence a calm, unjudging vessel for their chaos. They would leave, proclaiming him the wisest man alive, having never heard him utter a single word. This is the hidden weapon of strategic stupidity. It is the wisdom to know that most people don't want answers. They want a space safe enough to find their own. The clever man offers a lecture. The silent man offers a sanctuary. And which do you think a hunted soul prefers? A 2023 Cambridge study, one of those dry academic papers that accidentally stumbles upon a terrifying truth, analyzed conversational voids in initial attraction. They found that men who were comfortable with long pauses in conversation were perceived as more confident, more powerful, and paradoxically, more interesting. The researchers called it non-anxious presence. I call it the gravity of a black hole. It doesn't emit light, it consumes it, and everything inevitably begins to orbit it. This man's stupidity is a refusal to participate in the frantic dance of validation. He doesn't need to prove he is interesting, so he becomes interesting. He doesn't need to prove he is powerful, so he becomes powerful. He is the placid surface of a deep lake. You have no idea what lurks in its depths, and the mystery is more compelling than anything a babbling brook could ever tell you. He has stopped chasing. He has become a destination, and in doing so, he becomes a figure of immense danger and allure. Because a woman might pour her whole soul into that quiet vessel, only to realize that the vessel feels nothing. It simply holds. Or worse, she may find that in his silence, she has fallen in love not with him, but with the sound of her own voice, with the version of herself she created to fill his emptiness. It is a devastating, beautiful, and utterly lonely seduction. So, here is my riddle for you tonight. If you were to sit in a room, utterly silent, with no phone, no book, no distraction, for 1 hour, who would you be when you walked out? And what phantom would you have confessed to in the quiet? Perfection is a threat, but his cracks are an invitation to build something new. Imagine a statue of a god, carved from a single flawless piece of white marble. It stands in a museum, perfect, sterile, and cold. You can admire it. You can photograph it. But you cannot love it. It is finished. It has no need of you. It is a declaration of its own completeness. It is a threat. Now, imagine that same statue with a thin, dark crack running from its temple down to its heart. Suddenly it becomes tragic. It becomes human. It has a story. Your mind rushes to fill the void. How did it happen? Was it a fall? A flaw in the stone? An act of violence? The crack is an invitation. It is a wound that asks for your witness, your care, your imagination. The perfection was a statement. The flaw is a question. This is the seduction of the unfinished man. His supposed stupidity is the raw, unpolished courage to be gloriously, authentically, and sacredly flawed. The clever man from our first story presents himself as the flawless statue. The silent man from our second presents himself as an empty space. But this man, the unfinished man, he presents himself as a beautiful ruin. He has scars, and he doesn't hide them under concealer. He treats them like treasured maps of where he has been. He has addictions he battles, dreams he has failed to achieve, fears that wake him in the dead of night. He is not a polished product. He is a work in progress, and the scaffolding is still up. This is a terrifyingly attractive state. Why? Because it creates space. A woman doesn't feel like an audience member to his perfection. She feels like a potential collaborator in his becoming. His cracks are not signs of weakness, they are handholds. She can put her fingers in them, feel the rough edges, and imagine helping to build something new from the pieces. It's not about fixing him, that's a fool's errand born of ego. It's about the profound, creative intimacy of co-creation. It is the difference between buying a finished house and building one together, nail by nail, argument by argument, memory by memory. In the Japanese art of kintsugi, broken pottery is repaired with lacquer dusted or mixed with powdered gold. The philosophy is that the piece is more beautiful for having been broken. The scars are not something to hide. They are the highlight, a testament to the object's history and resilience. The unfinished man is a piece of living kintsugi. He doesn't pretend he was never broken. He wears his golden scars in the candlelight and, in their glimmer, gives others permission to see the beauty in their own. There is a strange folk tale from the coast of Ireland about a lighthouse keeper who was notoriously clumsy. He'd chip every cup, crack every plate, and his windows were a mosaic of patched glass. Sailors mocked him. But when the great storms came, it was his lighthouse that stood firmest. The legend says the wind couldn't get a hold on his perfectly smooth tower. It found purchase in the little imperfections, the cracks and ridges, and in doing so, it would spend its fury wrestling with the small flaws, leaving the core of the structure untouched. His weakness, his stupidity, was his strength. This is the hope you see. The fragile, flickering hope that deepens the darkness. The liberation here isn't about achieving a state of invulnerable perfection. It's about finding an unshakable strength in your own vulnerability. It's the paradox Nietzsche touched upon with his amor fati, the love of one's fate. Not just the good parts, all of it. The cringe, the failure, the heartbreak. To look at the entire, messy, grotesque, and beautiful tapestry of your life and say, yes, this, again. The modern man is terrified of this. He curates his life on social media, presenting a highlight reel of successes. He talks about his growth mindset and his journey, but he only shows you the triumphant destination, never the muddy, bloody path. He is lying. And women, who are often masters of navigating the subtle currents of emotional truth, can smell that lie a mile away. It smells like plastic. The unfinished man, in his beautiful stupidity, refuses to lie. He might say, I'm lonely tonight, or I'm afraid I'll fail at this, or I was an idiot when I was 20. These are not confessions of weakness. They are declarations of humanity. And in a world of flawless marble statues and filtered selfies, a declaration of genuine, flawed humanity is the most powerful aphrodisiac there is. So I will ask you this quietly. Show me your most treasured flaw. Not a charming quirk, not a weakness that is secretly a strength. No, show me the real crack in your soul. The one you patch and hide and pray no one ever sees. Why do you think the part of you that has suffered the most is the part that is least worthy of love? He wins the game by refusing to play, revealing the absurdity of the throne itself. Do you want to know the real trick? The one they'll hang you for in the court of modern romance? It's not about being smarter or quieter or more beautifully broken. It's about realizing the king is an idiot, the queen is bored, and the entire castle is a cardboard cutout about to be washed away by the rain. The ultimate weapon isn't a new strategy to win the game. It's laughter. A deep, gut-wrenching, liberating laughter at the utter absurdity of the game itself. This is the wisdom of the sacred fool, the court jester. His brand of stupidity is the most dangerous of all, for it is a form of divine madness. Think about the game, the ritual, the modern mating dance, the perfectly calibrated text messages, the 3-day rule, the casual but not too casual photos, the bio that must be witty but not arrogant, deep but not pretentious, the dance of who cares less. It is a suffocating, ridiculous, and soul-crushing piece of theater, and everyone is desperate for a good review. The jester walks onto this stage, looks at the script, and sets it on fire. He is the man who, when asked, "What do you do?" on a first date, doesn't list his job title like a prize bull listing its pedigree. He might lean in with a grin and say, "Mostly I try to remember to water my plants. It's a daily battle and the ficus is winning." He is the man who, instead of a slick compliment about her eyes, might notice a tiny bit of spinach in her teeth and point it out with such gentle, unjudging humor that it becomes a moment of hilarious bonding intimacy rather than a mortal embarrassment. He is not playing to win her. He is playing. Full stop. This is a subversion of power so profound it borders on the mystical. Foucault would have adored the Jester. The Jester operates outside the established hierarchies. He can speak truth to the king because he has no ambition to wear the crown. He is stupid to the rules of power, and this makes him the only free man in the court. In the realm of desire, the man who is trying to win is, by definition, in a lower status position. He is seeking approval. He is auditioning. The Jester, by refusing to audition, flips the entire power dynamic. He is not seeking her approval. He is inviting her to abandon the stage with him and come laugh at the whole pathetic play from the audience. This invitation is almost impossible to resist. Why? Because everyone deep down is tired of performing. Everyone is desperate for permission to be real. The Jester grants that permission with a joke. There's a story they tell about Nasruddin, the wise fool of Sufi lore. A pompous intellectual came to him and said, "Nasruddin, I have a philosophically complex question for you." Nasruddin looked at him and said, "First, answer my question. When you eat soup, do you move the spoon towards your face or your face towards the spoon?" The intellectual, flustered, said, "Why? I move the spoon to my face, of course." Nasruddin laughed and said, "See how stupid you are? Everyone else moves their face to the bowl to keep their clothes from getting dirty." He didn't answer the man's question. He dismantled the man's identity as a serious intellectual. He revealed the absurdity of the pretense. The Jester does this with dating. He meets the performance of "I am a successful, stable, high-value man" with the disruptive energy of "I am a glorious, chaotic meat puppet on a flying rock, and isn't it all hilarious?" This isn't about being a clown or a comedian. It's not a routine. It is a genuine lightness of being that comes from a deep and perhaps dark place. It is the laughter of the man who has seen the void and has decided to poke it with a stick. It is the humor of Kierkegaard, who saw the absurdity of human existence and called it the ultimate passion. This man's stupidity is the refusal to take the provisional things, status, romance, ego, seriously. He sees the skull beneath the skin and can't help but chuckle. He's like a wolf who has put on a tuxedo for a sheep's wedding. He knows it's a farce, but he's enjoying the music. This makes him utterly unpredictable. He might send a ridiculously formal invitation to go get cheap tacos. He might respond to a text with a picture of a bewildered-looking squirrel. He is playing a different game on a different board with rules he makes up as he goes along. And that is infinitely more compelling than the man who is diligently, boringly playing by the book. So I dare you. I double dog dare you. Tomorrow, just for one day, treat the entire romantic game like the joke it is. Abandon the script. Laugh at the wrong moments. Be gloriously, brilliantly, stupidly inappropriate. What is the worst that could happen? You might end up alone. My friend, if you are playing the game, you are already alone. At least the Jester is alone with a good sense of humor. The ultimate freedom is not winning her, but in no longer needing to win at all. The hunter lays his arrows down. The prey returns to shade. The crown he sought, a hollow sound, a ghost within the glade. The chase is done. The prize, a breath. And in that quiet, no more death. We have talked of the clever man in his prison, the silent man in his void, the broken man with his golden scars, and the Jester at his mad feast. They are all stages of an escape, but they are still defined in their own way by the prison they have fled. They are still in relation to the chase. The final truth is the most painful, the most lucid, and the most liberating. It is the one that lies beyond the chase itself. It is the realization that the throne you were fighting for was empty. The prize you were killing yourself to win was a phantom. The validation you sought from another was a poisoned well. This is the ultimate stupidity, the divine idiocy of the man who simply stops. Not as a strategy, not as a feint, not as the Jester's Gambit or the silent man's lure. He stops because he is done. He has walked so far into the desert of his own solitude that he has forgotten the concept of thirst. He has arrived at the final paradox. The only way to truly win the game is to forget it exists. This man is not lonely, he is alone. There is a universe of difference. Loneliness is a lack. It is the hungry, aching space where someone else is supposed to be. Aloneness, true solitude, is a presence. It is the resounding, thunderous fullness of the self. He has turned his gaze so far inward that the outside world, with its frantic demands for performance and partnership, has become muted like a storm heard from the bottom of the ocean. He has ceased to be a hunter. And so, he ceases to be seen as prey. He becomes something else. He becomes a landscape, a mountain. He is simply there. Unmoving, self-contained, breathing with the slow rhythm of geology. He does not need you to climb him. He does not need you to admire his peaks. He does not care if you build a village at his base or pass him by without a second glance. His reality is not contingent on your observation of it. This is the state that Nietzsche dreamed of for his Übermensch, the man who is a creator of his own values, a law unto himself, a self-propelling wheel. It is the quiet power of the Stoic sage who has reduced his needs to almost zero and in doing so has become invincible. The world can take nothing from a man who wants nothing from it. And here is the cruelest, most beautiful joke of all. This man, the one who has truly let go, the one who genuinely, authentically, down to the marrow of his bones, does not need a woman to feel whole, becomes a magnet. His non-need is a force of nature. It is the rarest and most potent quality in a world of screaming, needy egos. Women feel it. It is not aloofness, which is a performance of not needing. It is not indifference, which is a form of passive aggression. It is a genuine, peaceful, and terrifying self-sufficiency. It is the energy of a god who has forgotten he is supposed to be worshipped. To be with such a man is to be offered a strange and terrible gift, absolute freedom. He will not demand your time, for his is already full. He will not demand your validation, for he validates himself. He will not demand you complete him, for he is already whole. He can love you perhaps more purely than any other man, because he loves you without needing you. It is a love born not of lack, but of surplus. He is an overflowing fountain, not a begging bowl. But can you handle such a love? A love that does not need you. A love that will not flatter your ego by making you its center. It is a high and lonely place to love a man who has become a mountain. This is the final liberation that comes when a man stops chasing what destroys him. He is not destroyed by women. He is destroyed by his need for them. The need is the poison. And when it is drained, what is left is not an empty man, but a free one. He has achieved the sacred stupidity of being enough. He has built his throne in the heart of nothing, and from there he reigns over the quiet kingdom of himself. And he has found that it is the only kingdom that was ever worth ruling.